19, 1971, when Santo Panzarella, a Southern California businessman, entered the Manhattan Beach Police Department to provide information he had about the Zodiac case. Panzarella said that Allen once made incriminating remarks to Donald Cheney, who was Panzarella's business partner, that alluded to the fact he was the killer. On this statement, the Manhattan PD sent 2 detectives to interview Panzarella and Cheney at their business premises, where they were told a fascinating story. Cheney explained he had formed a friendship with Allen for several years before he moved to Southern California, and recalled a conversation they had during December 1968 in Allen's Fresno Street basement. The topic they discussed was that of recreational hunting. However, it soon took a sinister turn when Allen brought up his interest in Richard Connell's classic short story The Most Dangerous Game, in which a crazed count hunts shipwrecked travelers who become stranded on his private island, and which had become a popular fictional story. Allen mentioned he had become fascinated with the story, citing it as one of his favorites, adding that he identified with the count and his proclivity for hunting humans for sport. Allen then went into more detail about his hypothetical plan for committing a series of murders of couples in lovers' lanes. Cheney explained that he went on to describe how he would perpetrate these murders, quoting Allen as saying he would use a revolver or pistol with a flashlight attached to some for illumination and an aiming device, and would walk up and shoot people. Allen also talked about shooting the tires of a school bus and picking off the little darlings as they came bouncing off the bus, and went on to say that he would send harassing notes to the police. If this was not enough, Allen also allegedly stated that he would call himself Zodiac. Detectives noted the response in their report. Cheney replied, "Zodiac, why is that? Why not something else?" Arthur Allen at this time became very emotional and stated, "I like the name Zodiac, and that's the name I'm going to use." Cheney's account of this conversation, which apparently took place in December 1968, would make a strong case against Allen for being the Zodiac. This was primarily because the information wouldn't have been revealed until almost a full year, when the details of the first Zodiac attack at Lake Herman Road were described in the Zodiac's first communication in August 1969. Similarly, the Zodiac's threat to target a school bus was not made public until later in the year, October 1969. The most perplexing part of these revelations concerns Cheney's timing in sharing these comments with the police almost 2 years later. Cheney moved away to Southern California in January 1969, and it is possible he did not hear about the circumstances of the second Zodiac attack at Vallejo. However, the murder of Paul Stine in downtown San Francisco on October 11, 1969, received national press attention, and it is impossible that residents of Southern California were not aware of the mysterious serial killer calling himself the Zodiac, who targeted couples and lone victims, then wrote threatening letters to the newspapers detailing his crimes. Both Cheney and Panzarella confirmed they read news articles in the Los Angeles Times about the Zodiac murders, but it was another series of murders which led to Cheney revealing all he knew on Allen. In 1971, Cheney read about a completely obscure and unrelated series of unsolved murders which occurred in Grass Valley, CA, a small town about 150 miles north of Vallejo and San Francisco. It was these recent killings which prompted Cheney's suspicions about Allen to the forefront of his memory. If this was the case, it seems odd that the reports on the Zodiac murders which detailed a killer identical to Allen's description did not register with Cheney, but the series of unrelated murders managed to jog his memory. Almost as perplexing as Cheney's apparent ignorance of the Zodiac's subsequent crimes was the evidently careless disregard Allen had for keeping the planning of his crimes a secret, given how careful and precise the Zodiac had been in the execution of his murders. A revealing detail in